Hi guys, Kristen here. Today I have got an exercise for you on how to set intentions. Specifically, how to set intentions before you do something that you know is going to cause you to crash. Something you know you really don't have the energy for, something you know is probably going to get in the way of your healing journey energy-wise, but is also something that you know is worth it anyway this one time. Some examples of things where you could push yourself too much, but it's worth it, could be the holidays, an important birthday, maybe an anniversary. It's up to you to decide when it's worth it to push a little bit so you have that balance and that sense of belonging in special events, even while you're still unwell. I think it's really important to set your intention before starting an activity that you know is too much for you, because it's really important to be aware of what you're doing, why you're doing it, and understanding for yourself what success looks like in this situation. And when I say success, I'm really saying when you wake up tomorrow after you've overexerted yourself, maybe you're in a crash, maybe you're still in the middle of PEM, what is going to leave you saying, this is so hard and I'm so tired, but it was so worth it? What does that look like to you? Before I launch into the exercise, I want to share an example of a time where this worked for me. So one of my little sisters was getting married several years ago when I was in the middle of one of my relapses. And it was really, really important for me to get to be a bridesmaid on that day. Now, in order to be a bridesmaid, I knew there was no way I could do everything they had planned, because they had a full day planned. Everything from breakfast all the way through dancing until the middle of the night was planned out, and normal people could do all that. But with my low energy, I knew there was no way I could do everything. So I really had to think about, what did success look like for me? And I knew in advance that as long as I could spend at least half an hour getting ready with the other girls, that would feel like success for the morning, even though they spent a couple hours together before I showed up. I was okay with missing out on that. And as long as I could get through all the photos that needed to be taken, and I could get through the ceremony, and as long as I could get through the reception, that's what success looked like to me. I knew that there was going to be dancing at the reception, but I didn't make dancing part of my definition of success for that day, because I knew that was probably going to be too much. I definitely didn't expect myself to stay out as late as everyone else, because that wasn't the most important part to me. The most important part was getting to be there next to my sister through the really special events. And because I put that thought into it beforehand, there wasn't a whole lot of, should I do this, should I not do that? It was super clear to me what to do when the day came. I was actually in bed for a couple hours the morning of her wedding. My sister even got annoyed with me and came and knocked on the hotel door asking me where I was. I had to tell her, look, I'm just not feeling well right now. I need to rest. I'll be there when I can. And she wasn't happy with that, but I held that boundary. And you know what? When I did show up, everybody was really happy to see me. It was a really nice feeling to get to show up and just be a part of that, bridesmaids getting ready together party, putting our makeup on, having a little bit of food. And I did make it through all of the photos and the reception. Any chance I got, I was sitting down to help make that a little more possible for me. I did get through the reception. I got through dinner. I got to say hi to all of my family. And then the dancing started. And I could feel myself. I knew that as hard as I was pushing and as deep as I was drawing on my reserves, I was getting to the end of my rope. My cousin pulled me on the dance floor. There's a group of 5 or 6 of us. And I tried to will my body to dance. And it just, the most I could do, I think, was just sway a little bit side to side. My body physically wouldn't do more than that. I was so exhausted at that point. So I excused myself. And at that point, I went home. I left the reception at, I don't know, 9:30 at night, while everyone else was still going to be there for hours. And yeah, it was really hard to leave that early. I was leaving at the same time as parents who were putting their young children to bed. But that was what I needed to do for myself because I had nothing left. The next morning, actually, I should say, pushing myself to be there at my sister's wedding that day caused 2 weeks of even more severe fatigue. It caused a 2-week crash. It took me 2 weeks to get my energy back to where it was before the day of the wedding, just because I pushed myself for that one day, for that one maybe 12-hour day. I needed 2 weeks to recover. And by recover, I don't mean be healthy again. I mean to have my energy back to where it was pre-wedding, which I know you guys all understand. So that's the power of intention setting. Having a clear strategy as to what to say yes to and what to say no to, so that even if you're crashing for 2 weeks after that one day, years later even, you can tell yourself, oh yeah, totally worth it, wouldn't change a thing. So here's how we do that. We really reflect on, is this event worth it? If it's going to take me days or weeks or maybe months to recover from this one day, this one activity, this one event, is that really worth it? And if the answer is yes, then you move on. Then you say, okay, I'm going to do it. Then you think about all the different pieces of that day. What are all the different activities? And you can get as granular as you need to with this. I mean, depending on the severity of your fatigue, you could be thinking about, do I really want to go out to dinner for my anniversary? And if the answer is yes, it's worth it, then maybe you need to think about, okay, that means I need to be at home getting ready. That means maybe I need to go shopping because I don't have a dress that fits anymore. It's been so long since I went out. Okay, I'm going to need to walk to the car. I'm going to need to walk from the car into the restaurant. And I'm going to need to be sitting up at the restaurant for several hours and then walking out of the restaurant back to the car and thinking about each piece of that and saying, can I do all of those things? And the answer is probably no, because if you could do all those things easily, then you'd be doing them often. So let's run with the dinner example. So maybe you don't feel like you can shop for a dress and spend all this time doing your hair and your makeup like you normally would, assuming you're a woman, and as well as walking and sitting up for that long and all those things. How do you make this night work for you? Well, one thing you could do using the art of possibility is perhaps you can go online and use a dress rental. Something like Rent the Runway is a really fabulous dress rental service that I absolutely love using, and I have found it a very low energy way to get an outfit for an event. All right, and maybe you're used to doing, your hair up and your makeup like you used to. Maybe you can't do both. Maybe you need to decide, are you going to feel better on your date if your makeup is done or your hair is done the way you like it? Or another possibility, maybe you call in a friend. You say, hey, look, our 15-year anniversary is coming up and we have this big dinner and I have a really hard time keeping my arms above my head for more than a few seconds. Ask your friend to come over and maybe do your hair for you. All right, there are ways to make this easier on yourself. Brainstorm, get creative. Maybe, as hard as it could be, maybe you need a wheelchair for that night to get to and from the car. Maybe that would help make the night a little more possible for you. All right? And maybe instead of staying out and splitting an entire bottle of wine and going out for dessert afterwards, maybe you guys in advance decide, all right, having dessert's probably going to make the night too long. Why don't we just have dinner out? We'll just split, maybe a couple glasses of wine and then come home and do dessert where I can have it lying down and we can share it on the floor in some blankets with some candles around us to still make that special at home. All right, so once you've decided that yes, this event is worth the crash, and once you've decided what success looks like for you, for example, you're gonna feel better if your hair or your makeup is done, if you have to choose, and then you figured out how you're actually gonna make the night happen, now you're ready. Now you are ready to do this big special event that is probably gonna cause a crash, but is totally gonna leave you feeling like you're still living a little bit while healing from severe chronic fatigue. And continue to reflect on that. Continue to remind yourself that yes, this is worth it. Continue to come up with more creative ways to make the night work for you, to figure out how to do this. And really spend a lot of time thinking about this is what success looks like. And focus on success. Try not to focus on what you're missing out on. Because the more you think about what you're getting out of this, the easier it is going to be to say no to the things that aren't serving you, no to the things that will make it harder. By focusing on the positive, you're going to feel even better the next day when you have met your goals for success. Even when you're in the middle of that epic crash the next day. Sending you guys love and health. I'm Kristen.